my big Hydra Lurk army in the middle, but it will have been significantly delayed because of this early pressure my Terran opponent put on. And again, this is totally fine, because my Terran opponent equivalently delayed his expansion. As a matter of fact, I play pretty similarly if my opponent does some sort of 2 barracks fast academy type play. I just make sure to get enough Lurker Ling to push him out and gain center control, and then I go right back into that same general style. I'll be aiming to get my expansions fairly quickly, followed by my +1/+1 upgrades, and if there's any delay in getting those expansions, I will just get my evolution chamber a little earlier and my overlord speed a little bit earlier. In short, against one base play from Terran that seems to be medic marine based, I simply delay getting my 2 gas expansions and focus more on getting all those critical upgrades in buildings first, like the Spire, the Evo Chamber, and the Overlord Speed upgrade. In some circumstances, the Terran player won't even expand for a while after his 1 base opening. He'll add on a 3rd or maybe even a 4th barracks and start pushing you aggressively with 1 factory and 1 starport making vessels and 4 racks making marines. Since that's pretty difficult to deal with without making a lot of units, I will just happily delay my 3rd and 4th expansion. I'll generally take my 3rd gas right when I bust out of whatever early pressure he has, but I'm totally comfortable waiting a little while to take that 4th gas to ensure that I am in fact making enough units to continue to hold off his aggression. In all cases, the end result is that in the mid-game, I have a big Hydra Lurk army, I have 4 gas, 2 Evo chambers, a Spire, and Overlord Speed upgrade. And after I've done all that and I'm feeling pretty content, that's when I throw down the Queen's Nest in all these circumstances. Let's consider something totally different. Let's say I scout into his base and I see my Terran opponent has 1 barracks and a refinery. Immediately I know he's doing some sort of fast tech opening. Briefly, I'm going to ignore cases where he goes all-out mech, like does some sort of Goliath tank vulture composition for the remainder of the game. I'm going to stick to these medic marine armies, and we'll address that in a little bit. But so right now, based upon medic marine openings, he could be going for a fast dropship, he could be going 2-port Wraith, he could be going for a 1-factory vulture harass into expand and then get a bunch of medic marine. All these sorts of techie, annoying options. If I see this, then I do begin with 3 hatch, but I will get a Hydralisk Den, and then I'll get speed really early on. As a result, I can handle some vultures running into my main, I can handle wraiths, I can fend those off pretty easily. I also can deal with, even if he does weird stuff, like goes 1 racks fast academy and comes out with super fast fire bats or something like that. Because I have these Hydras with range, I can hold all of that off effectively. And then, once I get my layer up, note that I'm getting layer before I get range for Hydras. Once I get that layer up, I research Lurker spines, and again, I move out into the middle, burrow a bunch of Lurkers there, and then I take my 3rd and 4th gas. And everything's pretty much the same from here on out. I opened up with Hydralisks and delayed my layer and made sure to get speed to hold off his early aggression stuff. But after that, I pretty much went for Lurkers, took control of the middle, and now I'm expanding and powering drones, and I'm going back and getting my +1/+1 upgrade. I probably will have already gotten speed for Overlords. Sorry, there's a huge truck passing by. I'll let that one go by. Okay, I'll probably have gotten speed Overlords already if I see him doing something like fast Wraith. If he's not doing that, I may well skip it and get a Spire followed by that Overlord speed upgrade to sort of wrap things up. And again, my mid-game is identical in this circumstance. And then let's finally consider the most common opening for Terran. If he opens up with a 1 racks early expand, or even 2 racks fast command center, something like that. In this circumstance, I'm more than happy to make a few extra drones early on. I'm still going to be pushing out with Lurker Ling early, but instead of maybe 36 to 40 Lings, if he was doing some sort of super aggressive opening, I might have somewhere like 18 to 24 Lings. Just enough with my Lurkers for me to push out into mid and secure that wide alleyway so I can take my 2 expansions. And then I'm very comfortable powering drones for a little bit. And then I'll get my +1/+1 upgrades before I get range and speed. Because again, I only really need range and speed right before his big attack in the middle. And after I take these 2 expansions and I get my +1/+1 upgrade, that's when I generally get my Spire for the Scourge and dropship control. An interesting thing to note is that I didn't mention Overlord's speed in this discussion against early expanding. What I discovered when I did this Hydra Lurk opening is that there were a handful of circumstances where I did have to deviate. One of those circumstances is when my Terran opponent would early expand and get 2 factories very, very quickly. When his middle game push came out, although it came out about a minute later, around the 10 minute 30 second mark, as opposed to the usual 9 minute and 30 second mark for an early push. Even though his push was a little bit later, it just had so many tanks that I had a huge amount of difficulty dealing with it, despite the fact that I had this oversized Hydra Lurk army. As a result, against an early expanding player, I tend to get my Overlord speed upgrade very quickly to see if he is getting that 2 factory play. In circumstances where he is doing that, I generally just skip Hydras altogether, and I go straight for a hive. I just generally do the Lurker Ling and then go straight to Guardians and Ultras and Defilers and all that good stuff. And also you'll note that I skipped talking about mech. Hydra Lurk is quite bad against mech play, so I also have a transition out from that. Remember that I said against a 1-basing, gassing Terran player, I generally open up with Hydras with range upgrade early and then go straight for layer. If it appears that he's going mech, I won't get Lurkers, I'll just throw down a Spire. And that way he's forced to make some Goliaths early on, and he's forced to make some tanks early on to deal with my Hydras. This allows me to take 2 more expansions as usual, and then instead of going a Hydra Lurker army, I'm going a Hydra Muta army. Let me sort of recap, because I've done a whole bunch of rambling about all sorts of variations. In essence, what I'm doing is against 1-basing Medic Marine players, I'm delaying my expansions and getting more upgrades and the Spire and the Scourge and all that critical upgrade stuff first. Against the 1-basing mech player, I open up with Hydras. And if he's continuing going Medic Marine, I transition into that same Lurker Hydra play. And if he's going more mech, I transition smoothly into a Muta Hydra with lots of expansions play. If he's early expanding, I just push out into the middle as normal and expand a little bit more and make a few more drones and then go back and get all those critical upgrades and buildings like the Spire, the Speed, the +1/+1 upgrade. And if he is, in fact, going for this 2 factory really fast, I just smoothly transition away to this hive-type play. In all circumstances, I tried as hard as I could to make my big idea work, to try to get this Hydra Lurk army to work in the middle. And you'll note that for the most part, I got that to work in every case except for 2. Cases where he mechs and cases where he goes early expand 2 factory. All the rest of the time, I did an excellent job of forcing the game to go down the exact path that I wanted to. So again, even if all this just seemed like blabber, the important thing to note is to force your gameplay down one path by rearranging all the key components of your big build order. So, slight apologies for having a little bit long audio. This thing just ran over 30 minutes, but hopefully this was really helpful, and I'm actually glad I took this long to talk about this concept, because really thinking about build orders in the right way is so key to your learning. If you try to focus on all these food instruction sets, you'll get lost in all the details and miss out on the big picture. So start with the big picture, and then work your way down as an end to that food instruction set. For all these deviations I just described, I do have a loose notion of what I'm doing based on food, but all of that is based upon my foundational logic that I began at the outset of everything. So yeah, good luck everyone. Cheers.